Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacey, and you're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. Our guest for the segment is Diane Lang, author and positive psychologist. Welcome to the show, Diane.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to give everybody some background on Diane. As a therapist, educator, and positive living expert, Diane has dedicated her career to helping people turn their lives around and is now on a mission to help them develop a sustainable, positive attitude that can actually turn one into an optimist, literally. She has authored 2 books. The first one, Baby Steps, The Path from Motherhood to Career. The second, the one that we'll talk about today, is Creating Balance and Finding Happiness. Diane has been speaking and empowering parents and adults nationwide. She's also an adjunct professor in psychology at Montclair State University, where her college work includes mentoring students for personal issue advisement. So today we're going to talk, Diane, about your book, Creating Balance and Finding Happiness. Can everyone be happier?
Actually, yes. And that's something that we never knew going years back. But the truth is, everybody has a different genetic set point. So people are born happier than others. That is a definite given. So some people on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say 1 being the least happiest and 10 being the most happiest, some could be under 5, some can be a little higher. But the good news is, no matter where you find yourself on that scale, you could always be happier. So even if you ask yourself, how happy am I? And you don't want to ask that on a daily basis because every day is a little different. You want to look at it as the big picture because, you could be happier just today because you have good weather and, it's a beautiful sunny day, or you could be less happy because you woke up with a cold. But you want to think about, in the general big picture, the last few months, how happy am I? And even if you're a 2 or a 3, you can always be happier. The norm that I have found is most people feel they're between a 5 and a 7. But I've had people say to me, I'm not even a 1. So no matter how you look at it, you could always be happier, and that's the good news across the board. We all have that ability to do that.
So what are some of the factors of happiness?
Well, the first factor to think about is the number one factor of what makes us happy is socialization. It's not money. It's not physical health. It's literally socialization, which means social support, having a handful of people that we love, who love us unconditionally, without judgment, who would be there for us. It also involves having community and having a support system. It's really important that we have a support system because we can't heal, we can't forgive, we can't grieve alone. We really need that support, and that's why it's really important to have like a handful of people in your life, friends, family, coworkers, it doesn't matter who it is, that we really trust and can be our true, authentic selves with. People that we can really share our secrets and be open with. So you really want to think about that socialization. And the number one factor to depression outside of mental illness is loneliness and isolation, which is why we worry about if people move to a new state and they don't know anyone, or when people get older and they tend to live on their own or they can't drive anymore, because loneliness, isolation, they lead to depression. So the first thing you want to think about is, how social am I? And even if you're introverted, because a lot of people ask this, they're introverted, they're more shy, they still need a few people. They might socialize different than an extrovert. They might want to just do more one-on-one. They don't want to go to big parties or big social events. But we still all need that social support and that knowing of acceptance and belonging with other people, as well as true acceptance with ourselves.
Wow. Awesome. So socialization. Anything else that contributes to happiness?
Well, you know what? When we ask people all the time, what does happiness look like to you, or how do you define happiness? It's such an individual question, and that's something you want to think about. Everybody should ask themselves, how do I define happiness?
Money?
What would it look like to me? All right, you guys are laughing, so I want to know, how do you define happiness?
Money.
You know what? That is the typical answer across the board. And this is the funny thing about money. As long as your basic needs are met financially, and you could cover your bills and your food and all of the basics that we need, happiness doesn't change that much. For us in the New York City tri-state area, $75,000 is where the standard is of having your basic needs met financially.
Well, what if your basic needs include an oceanfront mansion?
Well, in that case, then I'd have to hire you to get me one.
Yeah.
But
Good point.
for the norm, outside of that, which I would love to have here in the Hamptons or the Jersey Shore, but let's say outside of that, if you're making $20,000 a year, then yes, money is going to be a big factor in your happiness because paying rent is going to be a problem. It could be, do I put food on my table or pay an electric bill?
Right.
But if I'm making, $75,000, $100,000 a year, my basic needs are met. It won't matter if I'm making $100,000 or $5 million. My happiness levels doesn't change much. So believe it or not, money's not the biggest factor. What money does do, though, is if I buy something, I get that mansion on the water, which would be fabulous. I will get a boost of happiness, but it won't give me long-term happiness because then you're on what we call the hedonic treadmill and you're looking for what's next. So now I have the mansion, but I need the winter house in Aspen and I need the apartment in Manhattan or Boston, and you start thinking, what else do I need? So money, if we use it to buy memories and experiences, that's great. Or if I take the money and I use it for others, I pay it forward, whether it's through a charity or I give to friends or family, that makes us feel good. But I'm sorry to say, guys, socialization beats the money. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true.
We need friends more than money.
Yes.
So,
Well, think of this. What if you're in that mansion, but you can't invite anybody there to party with you?
That's true.
That's true. Well, I'd want friends, too.
Only.
But
I guess you could buy your friends. if you
Yeah,
had
well,
to.
They'll come.
They'll come,
We'll have
yeah.
big parties.
Yeah, if you have an oceanfront mansion, you won't have a problem finding friends.
Yeah, and you'll have family members you never met before.
So what are some of the ways to cultivate happiness in our lives?
Well, there's a few different tips that we do, or happiness habits that we call them, that really incorporate us to cultivate happiness in our lives. And just so you know, these habits are really easy. They're free to do. They don't take up much time. You won't have to change your schedule. But within 2.5, 3 months, you'll really notice a difference in your happiness levels. And the first one is gratitude. And gratitude has a few different kinds of factors to it. One, gratitude is a form of meditation. And meditation is the best way to naturally de-stress without any side effects whatsoever. So that's the first thing about gratitude. The second thing about gratitude is it allows you to see what's in front of you, to appreciate what you have, but you don't normally pay attention to. And what that does is kind of retrain your brain to see the positive instead of the negative, because we tend to go towards the negative.
Right.
We're kind of learned negative people. Our society is very negative. Just watch the news or try not to, actually, if you want to be happy. But we really are prone to negativity. So by retraining our brain and paying attention to what we have in our life to be grateful for, we call it a gratitude check. And it's really simple, just once a day, and you can write it, you could say it out loud, you could say it in your head, but just ask yourself, what are 2 to 3 things I am feeling grateful for? And that's really an important tool, and it doesn't have to be the big things. It could be the little things in life, like a beautiful sunny day. It could be the greatest cup of coffee that you had. It could be hitting no traffic on your way home. It doesn't have to be these big things, and that's what people always think. It's the little things that we don't pay attention to that really mean a lot to us. But asking yourself, what am I grateful for? And just watching that you don't say the same things every day, because some people wake up every day and go, oh, I'm grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful I have a roof over my head. But you really want to have some value behind it. So even if you can only get one thing you're grateful for that day, some days you'll have 5 or 6. Some days you'll just be grateful you woke up and got out of bed.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's a great place to start. So really just asking yourself every day, what am I grateful for? Gratitude, really important.
So once I know what I'm grateful for, let's just say I'm still not happy. Then what else can I do? I've got
You mean the mansion and the gratitude, and you're not happy?
Yeah,
I'm going to have to bring you in for counseling.
because some people must be harder to please than others. Like
you have to think about it this way, too. To retrain your brain, to form a new habit, break a new habit, start a habit, all of that, when you read it in a magazine, it gives you like that 21, 28-day kind of rule.
Yeah.
And the truth is, within a month of starting a new habit, whether it's gratitude, quitting smoking, eating better, or running routine, you'll start feeling the effects in a month. You'll feel healthier.
Right.
You might have lost a few pounds. You feel more energetic. But it takes 2.5, 3 months to really form a habit where something is done on autopilot, where it's like brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, tying your shoes. You don't even need to think about it. So people have to have a little patience. And in the scheme of your life, 2.5, 3 months is not a long time. But we're so instant gratification wanting something so quickly. So gratitude is just one of the factors. Another factor is, again, retraining your brain a little. At the end of the day, asking yourself, what are 2 to 3 things I did well today? So instead of focusing on the negative while you're sitting in bed trying to fall asleep and you have that inner dialogue playing, I should have done that, I could have done that, why did I say that, I'm such an idiot. You have all of those negatives. You want to start thinking about the positives. What did I do well today? Just 2 or 3 things. So again, retraining your brain to see the positive instead of the negative. And the good news is your brains are trainable. So you can actually retrain them to think in a positive manner and to start noticing the positive. Because happiness is a perspective. What do you choose to see? And that's a really important tool as well. For a lot of my clients, they'll do gratitude, and then they'll do what did I do well, all in, while they're sitting in bed with the lights off, TV off, just going to sleep. So they go to bed with a positive spin on the day, and they wake up in the same frame of mind.
Do you have any ideas for teaching happiness to kids? Like, I have a 6-year-old, and she thinks she's going to be happy if we go buy a new toy, and I try to say to her, it's short-lived. You're going to be happy for 10 minutes, and then an hour later, you're not going to be able to find the toy. So how do you teach kids to be happy?
A few things we actually do with kids is random acts of kindness, which is the third factor. It's paying it forward, is really important. And some of the tools we use with kids is before they can buy that new toy, you actually want them to take their old toys or their old clothes or books, whatever it is, take them all, put them in a pile, and then bring them someplace where you can donate them. So they start learning, one, the pay it forward, that random act of kindness. It's also being grateful for what you have. But every time you do a random act of kindness, it's a two-way street here, or it's a 2-for-1. Your daughter will get that boost of happiness, and the person you drop it off to, whether it's a neighbor who needs or you bring it to your local church, doesn't matter where it is, they get a boost of happiness. And what it also does is every random act of kindness improves your self-esteem and your self-confidence. So it's really, you get a lot out of that. And the other thing we have parents do with their kids is at dinner table, we have them all go around the dinner table and just say one thing that they did well today in school or preschool, or one thing they're grateful for, and it'll be really cute. Like, I still remember my daughter saying to me, I'm so happy and grateful because we had chicken nuggets in school. That was what she was so excited about.
Awesome.
But that's okay. That's what you want to do. And the biggest thing for parents is kids from birth till puberty, let's say 12, 13, even though it's happening younger, they learn through your actions. They role model through imitation, observation. So the best way for them to have those traits of happiness and optimism and resiliency is for you to show them.
How do you implement it? How do you implement stuff like that in a corporate setting?
For corporate setting, it's bringing positivity in the workplace. And one of the things we do is teach mindfulness, allowing the employees to literally take 2-3-minute breaks where they can refresh and refuel. It's showing your employees that you actually care. Like, I just got sent to Florida for a corporate 5-week seminar where they actually brought in different people for fitness, for emotional wellness, like I do, for mindfulness, and just showing the employees that they're important, that you care about them, that they're not just a paycheck, they're not just a number. Those employees can actually tell you how they feel cared for and that they love their job because they know coming in is really important, not just for their paycheck, but for the whole corporate environment. So there's so much we could do with positivity in the workplace. And believe it or not, money is not the biggest motivator. And that's something that we have to remember. Motivation comes not just with money and raises. Those are great bonuses, not saying that's not important. But they also need the positive reinforcement and the praise. And when they're not getting that, even if they just got a raise and a promotion, they'll tell you they're not that happy. They need to feel needed, and they need to know that their ideas really count. So asking them, what do you think we should do? Letting them be involved in projects and giving up their ideas of how to improve the company or certain projects are really important. Of course, and raises and bonuses. I'm not saying money's not involved, but it's not the main motivator, and it doesn't keep somebody there. Interestingly,
I have 20 plus real estate offices, and I had one that, like, the morale was bad in the office. So my administrator, who kind of manages the office, was trying to come up with ideas on how to boost morale. And all she did was she created at the front desk a gratitude board. So anytime an agent wanted to come in the office and walk past the front desk, they had to put something they were grateful for on the gratitude board. And something so simple like that changed the entire culture of the office within like a week.
Wow.
It's so true. Simple things like that. Sending out a newsletter that just says happy birthday to people, or congratulating them if they've been there like a year anniversary. Those little things literally make a difference, just like gratitude, because it's showing that you care and that person knows you know their name. Knowing their name and saying hi and asking them about their lives goes a long way. You'd be surprised. To be a great leader, you need to know each employee and a little bit about them.
So I have one quick question for you, but before I go there, I want to just tell our listeners they can find you at dlcounseling.com for Diane Lang. And the name of her book is Creating Balance and Finding Happiness. And my last question for you, because we only have about another minute, is I was reading through your biography. You've been on a bunch of TV shows. You've been in magazines, Family Circle, Family Magazine. One that stuck out to me was she also participated in a reality-based internet show called OurPrisoner.com. What the heck is that?
It was a guy, his name is Kieran, and he actually had to stay in a house for 6 months and not be able to leave, kind of like a Big Brother kind of house before it was popular. And he was stuck in the house, and I actually went on, and they did it live, and we would do counseling and life coaching once a week live. And he was stuck in the house where he couldn't leave for 6 months. And he only got whatever, the people chose to give him, as in food. They give him foods he didn't like. He couldn't see certain friends. It was a very controlled atmosphere. And if he, stayed the 6 months, then he won a lot of money.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's a reality show just on the internet.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for joining us. Again, it's Diane Lang. You can find her at dlcounseling.com, and her book is Creating Balance and Finding Happiness. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Diane. We've got to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.